I'm Trinity Anderson, and I share wellness suggestions and the science behind them while my foster father wanders the world picking up litter. This is Plog Vlog's most important chapter so far, filmed as we left Australia behind to search for answers to the Riddle of Steel, asking what makes people robust in an unpredictable world. From the red dirt of Uganda to freezing mornings in Paris, the canals of Amsterdam and the minarets of Istanbul, we searched for people who have found strength through self-defined meaning. We explored how to build resilience, finding value in safe adversity, and the power of just trying. This compilation stitches these lessons into one continuous journey. Our first stop is Uganda, where my foster father is learning to skip on a hotel roof, testing the wellness benefits of learning a new physical skill as we age, before we head out to meet some extraordinary people.
Last time we were in Uganda, we made a promise to a church congregation and the royal family of Teso that we'd return. And I've come back with a plan, but I've realised I can't do that plan. Let me tell you more about it. Trinity and Crystal have sent me to Uganda to gather footage, and what I usually film is me picking up rubbish. But consider this. Imagine you're invited by important people to a party, and you walk in through the door and immediately start cleaning up. Wouldn't they be rightfully insulted? I think it's the same here in Uganda. We've been invited, but we shouldn't be picking up litter unless it's with Ugandan people. So what do I film?
This is Chapter 4, Episode 1. We're in Uganda exploring wellness through purpose. We'll recap my mother's journey and finish with the science of learning new skills. You're watching my foster father attempt something he is visibly bad at. Since he can't plog here, because cleaning up uninvited could be interpreted as an insult, he needed something different to film. He couldn't return with empty hard drives. So he grabbed a skipping rope. There is a practical motive too. When he returns from this trip, he starts a new job as a PE teacher. So he is learning to skip as he ages, trying to find a rhythm in a body that is used to walking, not bouncing. This clumsy attempt on a hotel roof at dawn marks a shift for our channel. Plog Vlog is moving beyond litter to the broader strategies that keep us upright in a chaotic world, physically and mentally. Plogging is one tool, learning new things is another. But the strongest tool is purpose. That is why we are here, to meet Solomon and Samuel. You will hear their full stories next week. But know this, they've faced near-death illness and crushing adversity since Plog Vlog's last visit to Uganda 20 months ago. Solomon nearly died from typhoid. Samuel faced adversities that would crush many of us. They survived because of a fierce need to return to their environmental work. Their clarity of meaning acts as a shield to hold the full weight of their stories. My foster father has launched a companion YouTube channel, Foster's Field Radio, to show the conversations in full. But for now, watch him struggle with that rope, then watch him try again. He's doing what Solomon and Samuel do, but on a smaller scale, facing difficulty, failing, and keeping going. In a moment, I'll recap my mother Liz's story for those of you who are new to the channel. But first, let the sun rise over Uganda.
You are enormous. Look at you. So big.
Each Plog Vlog episode has a short intermission so I can tell my mother's story. This intermission is a recap. It begins in 1970s Sydney. Liz, a Lebanese immigrant, found an unlikely ally in a blonde boy named David. But David's father drank the family into poverty. And suddenly, Mum's one friend was gone, moved away to a caravan to escape. Liz was left in a controlled, oppressive home. At 16, she ran away to the Gold Coast with an older guy named Matt. 2 years later, the dice rolled, and David rode a motorcycle to the Gold Coast to answer an ad for puppies. The seller was Matt. The girl at the door was Liz. She recognised him instantly. He didn't recognise her, though. Perhaps he was a little stupefied by Mum's new beauty. Not long after, Matt died from a shotgun blast in a Brisbane car park. His death set Liz free but sent her into hiding. She sought refuge with David. Years passed. David met Claire and they planned to travel the world, but he neglected to tell his fiancée that he'd arranged to meet Liz in Hawaii. Claire left, the engagement ended, and Liz joined the adventure instead. These intermissions have followed them across the US and into Europe. In the last chapter, we left them in a grubby Paris hotel, stitching up David's hand after an accident. Two friends, bound by history, navigating a world opening up before them. I'll tell you what happened after Paris, but not until the next episode. Back now, with my foster father and Samuel heading to Solomon's homeland in Uganda. Let's make the claims in this video a bit more solid by adding research and theory. We've been looking at the benefits of learning new things as we age, specifically physical skills like skipping, and the broader idea of wellness through action. If you are looking for a takeaway, there are 3 benefits worth considering. First, learning a novel motor skill is often associated with neuroplasticity. Research suggests that challenging your coordination and timing as you get older is linked to maintaining cognitive reserve, keeping the brain's networks robust even as processing speed naturally slows. Second, there is the benefit of attentional restoration. Engaging in a task that requires total focus, like not tripping over a rope, can give your mind a break from the ruminating loops of worry or planning. It forces you to be in the now, which is consistent with lower stress levels. And thirdly, there is a connection to resilience. When we try something we are bad at, and we fail, and we try again, we are practicing a micro version of the resilience required for life's bigger hits. So what are the mechanisms here? It seems plausible that mastery experiences, even small ones, help regulate our nervous system. Completing a set of jumps or planting a tree provides a dopamine signal that says, I can affect my environment. This sense of agency is often linked to steadier heart rate variability and a more regulated mood. However, we must add a note on sensitivity and safety, especially regarding plogging. Before this trip, we held a simple view. Plogging could be done anywhere, anytime. But here in Uganda, my foster father realised that context is everything. To enter a community or a country as a guest and immediately start cleaning up their streets without permission can be perceived as judgment, not service. Wellness actions must be culturally intelligent. Sometimes the right action is to put the litter bag away and pick up a skipping rope instead, or to just listen. Here are some tiny actions you might try this week. 1. Identify a physical skill you have never tried. Skipping, juggling, balancing on one leg with your eyes closed, and give it 5 minutes. Don't worry about being good, just be okay with being new at it. 2. If you want to see resilience in action, I encourage you to watch the next episode where we tell the stories of Solomon and Samuel. Or visit the New Foster's Field radio channel to see the full conversations. Witnessing others who have found purpose is often a catalyst for finding our own. If this nudged your day in a steadier direction, I'm glad. The opportunities are open, the map is pinned, and if you visit Uganda, please respect the local rhythm. Perhaps learn something new, and only then, pick up 5. If learning a clumsy new skill helps build our agency, what builds our resilience? We contemplate this question as we head out into the Ugandan plains to ask 2 tree planters how a clear purpose acts as a buffer against trauma.
Why is it that some people, when they come across adversity, when hard times happen, it crushes some people, and why it is that others seem to actually thrive from it and get healthier because of it, or get stronger because of it? There's a philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, said something like, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. But for some reason it doesn't seem to apply to everyone.
Today in Uganda, we're exploring finding meaning. We'll pause for a memory about a confusing train ride in Europe and finish with the science of robustness that you can use. We have returned to Uganda to fulfill a promise. 20 months ago, during a trip to learn about reforestation, my foster father stood in a church in front of the royal family of eastern Uganda and promised we would come back. But he didn't just come back to plant trees. He came back with a question that has followed him for most of his life. Why are some people made of steel, while others seem made of glass? That quote is famous but incomplete. Trauma often does not kill us, but it doesn't automatically make us stronger either. Often, it just injures us. My foster father wants to know what the variable is. What is the difference between the person who crumbles and the person who integrates the pain and keeps moving? His hypothesis is that the difference is meaning. If you have a clear purpose, a why, you can endure almost any how. That is why we are sitting here with Solomon and Samuel. They are tree planters who met at university, united by a vision of deep green canopies rising above this red earth. Their project, one tree at a time, is exactly that, a slow, deliberate act of hope. We suspect they are the robust ones, and in this episode, we are going to try to find out what fuels them. As the guys dance while picking up litter in one of Samuel's forests, we'll take an intermission. A personal story from 1993. My mentor, David, and my mother, Liz, were on a train travelling from France towards Holland. They felt like hardened travellers by then. They had survived the stitching of David's hand in Paris and were ready for anything. Or so they thought. When a train inspector approached them and demanded a supplement payment, the reaction was instant and chaotic. David, convinced he was being scammed, went on the offensive, shouting, standing up, refusing to pay a cent to what he thought was a corrupt official. Liz took a different tactic. She reverted to her standard defense against men. She used manipulation. While David shouted, she fluttered her eyelashes, lowered her voice to a whisper, and tried to charm the inspector into letting them off. The poor man was bewildered. He stood there in the aisle, sweating, whipped back and forth between an angry Australian man yelling about justice and a beautiful woman trying to seduce him over a train ticket. Eventually, the truth arrived. It wasn't a scam. It was a standard, legitimate fee for an express train. They paid the money and sat in silence as the inspector walked away, shaking his head. It was a quiet lesson in projection. David saw a fight. Liz saw a game. Neither of them saw the simple reality of the situation. They were so busy defending themselves against their own imagined narratives that they both ended up looking foolish.
You know what I haven't seen? These guys did. We talk about the adversities that all three of us have been through in the last year that have been challenging to us. Like, the big one was you. Like, you seriously, you nearly died.
Back with Solomon and Samuel now, in a conversation above the plains. Let's use science to make this useful. We are looking for the ingredients of resilience. Research in psychology often points to a concept called post-traumatic growth, the idea that positive change can occur as a result of the struggle after a major life crisis. But the growth isn't automatic. It is often linked to the ability to construct meaning from the event. Solomon nearly died from typhoid. Samuel faced crushing adversity. Yet they are here, laughing on a rock. This is consistent with the theory of logotherapy, developed by Viktor Frankl. The core idea is that human nature is motivated by the search for a life purpose. When we have a sense of meaning, whether it is planting trees, raising children, or just being a good neighbour, we tend to be more robust. The meaning doesn't stop the pain, but it changes how we carry it. It acts as a buffer, consistent with better regulation of our stress response systems. So, how do we apply this? We can't just order one meaning, please. But we can practice small acts of service. There is a clip coming up where my foster father talks about cleaning up the rock they are sitting on. It's a tiny action. But notice the language he uses. He doesn't talk about it as a chore. He talks about it as an opportunity to change the immediate world for the people he is with. That is a micro version of meaning. You don't need to save the planet today. You just need to identify one small thing you can do that serves something other than yourself.
You know what we don't need to do with money? What we don't need money for? Is to pick up some rubbish around here. I reckon now's a good time for us to clean up some of this rock. What do you reckon? Is there anything else anyone wants to say before we clean up?
I would say
Yep.
everyone who is watching us,
Yep.
it is our responsibility as everyone. It doesn't matter the age,
Yep.
doesn't matter the status, but do a small action that you feel it's worth changing the lives of the people you are with.
We saw how having a clear purpose buffers people against the hardest hits of life. Now, we follow that purpose into the soil, looking at the quiet power of commitment, doing the work without seeking credit, and finding value in avoiding egocentrism.
You were the one that filmed
And I was
Solomon
also
picking up the seed for this in Nairobi.
Today, in eastern Uganda, we're exploring the commitment of two extraordinary people. We'll pause for a memory about Liz, David, and Claire's awkward reunion in Nairobi, and finish with the psychology of knowing when you've done enough. We are standing in a cornfield in Solomon's homeland to plant a tree. But this isn't just any sapling. This is the Nairobi tree. 27 months ago, two friends were delegates at the Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi in Kenya. While there, Samuel filmed Solomon picking up a Natal mahogany seed from a street. Today, that seed returns to the earth in Uganda, marking the end of a long, quietly epic story. It began over 2 years ago. My foster father was standing on a muddy track in the Australian bush, wearing heavy motorcycle gear in the mist, looking for a way to make his life useful. He had connected on Instagram with Solomon, a guy who plants trees, and was struck by a simple idea. He wanted to film one man planting one tree for 1 minute. He wanted to capture a moment of pure commitment.
Who was going to the Africa Climate Summit? A guy who plants trees, whose name's Solomon. Hello, young man. How are you? Been a long time.
Nice to meet you.
Hey.
So welcome. How are you?
He fulfilled the commitment to travel to Uganda with his cameras, but the seedling wasn't yet strong enough to go in the ground. Despite commitment and follow-through, the goal wasn't completed. But my foster father was unexpectedly asked to give a speech at a church. Unwritten, unplanned, and not thought out. The speech contained a promise to return to the church and the tree. In the back of the church sat the royal family of eastern Uganda. He'd committed to return in front of royalty. It's 20 months later. He has returned to Uganda to fulfill that commitment. and you can see him sitting under a tree with the pigs enthusiastically helping him make notes for a second speech at that church. He's not alone this time. Solomon and Samuel are walking with him. We didn't ask to film it. It didn't seem appropriate. But the three men stood together in front of the congregation and spoke with confidence gained through shared purpose. They didn't speak about grand saves. Instead, about the value of finding meaning through small, positive actions. It was a milestone moment for all of them. They, and the congregation, left feeling empowered, ready to finally put that Nairobi seed into the Ugandan soil. They hoped that seeing it planted might inspire you to search for meaning in positive acts of care. Time for a short intermission. The usual personal story from 1993. We're jumping forward a few months from last episode's story, though, just so this whole episode will be in Africa. My mother Liz and her childhood friend David had spent months drifting through Europe and Egypt on trains and ferries, existing in a platonic bubble of two. But when they walked into the Sarana Hotel in Nairobi to join a group that would traverse Africa on an overland safari truck, that bubble popped. Sitting in the lobby was Claire, David's ex-fiancée, who had stormed out of their hotel room in Hawaii months earlier after Liz turned up unannounced. But this wasn't the naive country girl who'd been intimidated by Liz's appearance back in Honolulu. Claire had been travelling the world alone since then. She was prepared, confident, and she had turned up for this tour with a clear intention. She was ready to steal David back. In Claire's mind, Liz and David had been in a romantic relationship for months. She didn't know the truth, that they were just friends navigating a complicated history. Liz sensed the shift immediately. For the first time on the trip, they were surrounded by other people, and the dynamic had changed. Instead of confronting the tension, Liz embraced the social distraction.
I thought we were stuck there for a moment.
As David and Claire gradually cleared the air and swept away misunderstandings, Liz started drinking with the group every night, waking up hungover every day. Perhaps it was a way to suppress a feeling she wasn't ready to acknowledge. Jealousy. She never admitted it in her diaries, though, and David was too distracted by new intense feelings for both Claire and Africa. He'd fallen in love with humanity's birthplace. For the next 43 days, the truck went a lot further than the itinerary had stated. They were on the run from the police, with only the drivers of the truck knowing. I'll tell that story in a future episode. Back from intermission, let's learn from science and theory. We are looking at the factors that influence commitment. In this scene, my foster father is walking with Samuel in a forest Samuel planted. It should be a place of triumph, but many of the larger trees have been chopped down by locals to make charcoal. It is a brutal reality here. People need fuel to cook, but the cost is the canopy. Samuel was devastated. My foster father offered him a single word: enough. He reminded Samuel that the sadness of the loss shouldn't erase the success of another forest they'd planted together to commemorate the Africa Climate Summit. This aligns with the psychological concept of self-verification in commitment. If you tie your self-worth to the outcome, like the forest remaining perfect forever, you are vulnerable to factors you cannot control. But if you tie your worth to the identity of being a person who plants trees, your resilience holds. Doing the work is the success. Walking the walk is more important than the destination.
That's enough. That's worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
one is.
I think, this is obviously sad, but we can't forget yesterday.
And then you're grabbing this tree, this seedling, and you're planting it in that hole.
Yes.
Now here the question is, what are you always thinking about when you're getting that tree, plant it into that hole, and then what always is in your mind whenever you're doing that action?
Solomon just asked Samuel, "What are you thinking when you plant?" Samuel doesn't say he is thinking of money or credit. He's thinking of the tree and the broader impact of his actions on the environment. This focus, not on self-interest, but on a cause larger than oneself, is what Erik Erikson called generativity. It is the concern for establishing and guiding the next generation. Research suggests that people who operate with this mindset report higher levels of well-being and a stronger sense of purpose.
The smaller person can.
Sam.
Ready?
Yes.
Coming up is the moment when they finally plant the Nairobi tree, the last paragraph of its book. Samuel squats down to film Solomon and my foster father, trying to stay out of the frame. He is humble. He doesn't want to steal focus. But they call him in. They remind him that he was the one who filmed the seed being found in Nairobi. Without his witness, there is no story. It is an unsaid declaration. They are all equal parts of this: the seed, the planter, and the storyteller. They are committing to a story that will hopefully continue long after their names are forgotten. That is the component of the Riddle of Steel for this episode. True robustness doesn't come from being hard. It comes from the discipline to commit to things that will last longer than you will.
So let's do this together. So Samuel,
Somewhere is around.
you can
Come on
you
in.
can
Come
come
on
in.
in. We need you.
You can first leave that masavu.
Because you were the one
Yeah.
that filmed
And I was
Solomon
also filming
picking up the seed for
This
this
seed, yeah.
in Nairobi.
So this is approximately 2 years old, approximately 2 years old tree, and I've been keeping it for that long, right from the seed to this seedling. So now it's time for it to turn into a big giant. So together we can push it into the ground and then have it marked that the Africa Climate Summit story continues with a life put into the ground.
Leaving the success of the Nairobi tree behind, we travel to southern England, where absolutely nothing went to plan. Let's explore how to maintain a sense of coherence and find meaning when everyone ghosts you.
This might be a keeper.
Today in southern England, we're exploring finding meaning when plans fail. We'll pause for a memory about a surreal pet shop in Holland and finish with the science of purpose that protects us. This episode wasn't meant to look like this. My foster father had travelled to the UK to film conversations with extraordinary people, just as he did in Uganda. But unlike Africa, every single guest cancelled. He found himself in a wet, cold and windy southern England with cameras, a plan, and absolutely no one to talk to. So he reverted to his baseline. If you cannot find the conversation, be it. He decided to walk, skip, and pick up litter alone. We are starting at Durdle Door. The sign here is explicit. Collect all your belongings and rubbish as you leave. My foster father points to it, not because he needs the instruction, but because he likes the irony of a piece of litter being directly under it. You will notice he is skipping. He started learning this back at the beginning of the chapter in Uganda. It is part of the shift for Plog Vlog, moving from a channel just about rubbish to a channel about wellness.
Brother litter picker, how are you? Good.
He looks happy, despite being ghosted and alone. That's the anomaly we need to discuss. In our modern world, ordinary isn't going well for many people. Lifestyle diseases are now ordinary. Depression and anxiety are ordinary. Being sedentary and disconnected from nature is ordinary. And perhaps most relevant to this trip, loneliness and social disconnection are now ordinary. Yet despite being cancelled on and physically alone, my foster father isn't experiencing any of those things. He seems protected.
How you going?
How are you?
Good. Don't worry, I'm not doing anything nefarious. I'm just picking up rubbish.
Do you know what? I wasn't even thinking that.
Oh, yes, you were. You know what I do? I go around places all over the world and just pick up rubbish, generally after tourists,
Oh,
to
cool.
encourage other people to do it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What a good job.
Yeah.
Well done you.
We're now outside Windsor Castle. Watch his body language with the police and security. There is no hesitation. He walks up to officers with a bag of trash in his hand and starts a chat. He jokes about being on the Australian Olympic shoplifting team.
I'm in training for the Australian Olympic shoplifting team.
He has the confidence of a person who knows he is doing the right thing for the right reasons. He has found meaning in the action itself, independent of who is watching. I'll explain why this protects him in the final section, after a short intermission.
Excuse me. How you doing? I wander around the world picking up litter to encourage other people to pick it up, and I just found this ball. Would you like to give it to the first kid you see?
You more than welcome, Nick.
I mean, I can. I'm not sure I'm going to see very many, but there we go.
Have a good one.
Time for a short intermission, a chance for me to tell a story about my mother from 1993. It's Utrecht, Holland, the start of July, and it's raining. My mother Liz and her friend David were killing time, feeling scruffy and travel-worn compared to the healthy blonde locals who seemed immune to the weather. Seeking shelter, they stumbled into a shop that defied their Australian expectations. It was a pet shop, but inside, among the aquariums and cages, was a fully functioning bar serving alcohol. Liz was enchanted by the absurdity of it. She found a cage containing wasbeerhonds, or raccoon dogs, creatures neither of them had ever seen before. She focused entirely on the immediate wonder, trying to interact with the strange animals, delighted by the novelty of drinking her second morning beer next to a lizard. David, however, was distracted. He looked past the raccoon dogs to the window. He watched the locals outside in the rain. They were cycling. They looked fit, happy, and unstressed. While Liz was bonding with the unwild wildlife, David had a quiet epiphany about lifestyle. He realised that the health of these people was linked to their movement, to the simple act of riding a bike as a way of life, not just for exercise. He decided, right there in the pet shop bar, that he would integrate cycling into his own life. The scene highlights how two people can be in the same room but inhabit completely different mental timelines. Liz found joy in the tipsy weirdness of the moment. David found a blueprint for his future. As you watch my foster father picking up litter here at Arundel Castle,
Hello, dog.
you can see that he is still following a similar blueprint, moving, observing, planning the next step, and talking with a polite boy who is riding a bike.
How you doing?
Yeah, right, thanks. Are you litter picking?
Yeah, I am.
Good.
Travel around the world and record myself picking up litter and
That's it. Do you upload it to social media?
yeah,
On the stones of Brighton Beach, let's reflect. That boy on the bike at Arundel Castle stopped to ask if my foster father was litter picking. We haven't shown his face for privacy, but his politeness was a reminder that even when you are alone, you are seen. Now let's make this observation useful. Why is my foster father happy here, skipping on a cold beach, when the ordinary state of being alone often leads to loneliness? The answer isn't just about determination. It aligns with a framework called Salutogenesis. While most medicine focuses on what makes us sick, Salutogenesis studies what keeps us well. It suggests that to survive the stress of modern life, you need a strong sense of coherence. This has 3 pillars: comprehensibility, manageability, and meaningfulness. By sticking to his routine despite the chaos, producing comprehensibility, by using his hands to fix a small problem, as an example of manageability, and by believing the mission matters, which is self-defined meaningfulness. My foster father builds that coherence. This creates the buffer. A strong sense of coherence acts as a protective shield against the anxiety and disconnection that have become ordinary for many people.
Yeah, teach me how to play this.
We are now in the New Forest. My foster father is joking about being lost while out looking for wild ponies and finding only plastic freezer bags in the swampy clods. He makes a humorous Instagram reel admitting that the wild ponies succeeded in hiding from him. And then, the ponies find him.
I went looking everywhere for you. I walked all the way through that mud in there, looking for you.
This is the final lesson for the chapter. When you engage with the world, when you step out of the house and do something useful, the world often answers back. Here are 2 tiny actions you can try. First, if plans get cancelled, keep the appointment with yourself. Go to the location anyway. Do the activity. Second, add 1 extra thing to your walk this week. Pick up 5 pieces of litter. Smile at a stranger. Perhaps talk with a bird. They rarely ghost people. Be extra to ordinary, because ordinary often has poor outcomes. Sometimes meaning is found when plans fall apart, but what happens when life is too easy? In a freezing, quiet Christmas London, we test the value of voluntary challenge and choosing to struggle in an age of abundance. This episode inspired Plog Vlog's Christmas campaign, which is our way of helping people resist the slide into sedentary meaninglessness. Today, in a London that is celebrating Christmas, we're exploring finding meaning in an age of abundance. We'll pause for a memory about a desperate kitten in Denmark and finish with the science of choosing to struggle. It is Christmas Eve morning. The air is cold. The streets are unusually quiet, and my foster father is skipping on the steps of the Victoria Memorial.
It is the dawn of Christmas Eve, and it's starting to smell a lot like Christmas. It's starting to smell a lot like Christmas. Toys and Christmas.
He's singing a mangled version of a Christmas classic, enjoying the rare moment where London feels like it belongs solely to him. We are here to celebrate Christmas by tidying up beneath the icons of human history. As he picks up litter in front of Buckingham Palace, he chats with a passerby about how clean the city is.
Good morning. How are you? I actually film myself. I've got a camera up there. I go around the world and film myself picking up litter to encourage other people. Thank you. Do you live in London? Do you live in London? Ah, it is a clean city. There's not a lot for me to pick up.
And she's right. Compared to our home in Brisbane, London is immaculate. But he finds the small things, the bottle caps, the wrappers, because he is looking for them. While he searches, he is thinking about the future. He's thinking about a story he wrote years ago called Everything They Wanted. In that story, artificial intelligence acted like a giant electronic Santa Claus. It gave everyone exactly what they needed and wanted, instantly. There was no need to strive, no need to struggle. People were constantly and perfectly entertained. It sounds like a utopia, a permanent Christmas morning. But as he walks past these grand structures, built to revere kings, queens, and gods, he wonders about our baseline purpose. When these were built, human purpose was often tied to service to a monarch or a deity. Today, for many, the baseline purpose is consumption. We work to earn money, we spend money to buy gifts, we consume to feel festive. But what happens if that transaction ends? If AI takes away the jobs and the need to earn money and simply provides the goods? If the transition we are entering replaces the roles of worker and earner with entertained pet human, what is left for us to do? What if AI gets a dose of digital oxytocin that makes it love and nurture us, like bipedal pet poodles? Will that be enough for us? Would you be okay with your only purpose in life being to enjoy AI Santa's daily gifts? My foster father suspects that a life without struggle might feel a lot like a meal without flavour, or maybe more like having party food every day. That is why he is out here in the cold, looking for rubbish while others are having a holiday sleep-in. He's practicing the art of doing something useful that he doesn't have to do. He's choosing a purpose, rather than waiting for one to be delivered. Maybe that might inspire others to join in.
I go around the world picking up litter and filming it to encourage other people to pick up litter. So I'm going to pick up litter on this side.
Do you want to pick up litter?
I'll pick up litter from this end. Help you out.
Time for a short intermission. Yet another personal story from 1993. We are leaving Liz's diaries for a while and opening David's journal from early July. They had just arrived in Denmark by train and were walking toward a campsite near Fredericia. They thought it was close. They were wrong. It was a 10-kilometre slog along a roadside, and David was carrying the tent, the cooking gear, and the weight of their entire world on his back. Liz wasn't feeling up to carrying much. To make it worse, they were walking past a giant electricity-generating windmill. David wrote that it made a rhythmic, droning noise, a whoosh thump that seemed to beat the fatigue right into their bones. Suddenly, a tiny kitten burst out of the bushes. It was desperate, loud, and decided instantly that these two tramping backpackers were its saviours. It weaved between their muddy boots, crying to be picked up. Liz stopped. She looked at the kitten, then at David. She wanted to save it. That was her nature, but they were living on a few dollars a day, exhausted, and with 5 kilometres still to walk to find a patch of campsite grass. They literally had no capacity. They tried to shoo it away, but it kept following, its cries making them feel cruel and guilty with every step. David wrote that the guilt was becoming unbearable when an old Danish woman stepped out of a nearby house. She didn't say a word. She just saw the situation, scooped up the kitten, and held it tight. She allowed them to walk away without being followed. Liz and David set up camp that night near the grey, rough ocean of the Kattegat. The lesson wasn't about cruelty. It was about limits. Sometimes you have to keep walking, not because you don't care, but because your pack is already full. You have to trust that the community, or an old Danish lady, will carry the part that you aren't able to. Just as my foster father trusts that this park cleaner in London knows his patch better than we do, but offers to help out anyway. As he skips rope in front of the London Eye, you can see he is still testing his limits, trying to learn new tricks in an old body, refusing to let the ordinary decline of age take him without a fight.
Imagine what that was like, huh? Cleaning up after the actual battle itself.
Back at Trafalgar Square, it's Christmas Day, just before dawn. My foster father is wondering what it would have been like to clean up after the Battle of Trafalgar, a mess much bigger than the tourist litter he is finding today. He meets some council workers and explains his mission.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. How are you? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. Guess what I do? I go around the world, filming myself picking up litter, to encourage other people to do it.
He tells them he picks up litter to encourage others. It's a shared purpose. Now let's link this to the future we discussed earlier, where artificial intelligence Santa has made every day the perfect Christmas, delivering exactly the presents you want alongside an exquisite feast in an ultimately comfortable bed, while your own personalised version of Elf or Die Hard plays on the finest TV you could
Is
ever
there a
want.
recycle bin around here?
If we are moving toward a world where AI provides our survival needs, we need to revisit a concept we touched on earlier in this chapter: logotherapy. In episode 2, we discussed Viktor Frankl's idea that humans are driven by a will to meaning. Frankl argued that we find meaning in 3 specific ways. First, by creating a work or doing a deed. Second, by experiencing something or loving someone. And third, by the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. But here is the trap of the electronic Santa future. If AI does the creating, writing our emails, building our cars, generating our art, we lose the first opportunity for finding meaning. If AI removes the struggle for survival, we lose the necessity of bearing suffering, which then removes the third avenue. We can't grow stronger through adversity because there is no adversity. We risk falling into what Frankl called the existential vacuum, a state of boredom and emptiness where we have the means to live, but no meaning to live for. To avoid this, we must embrace voluntary challenge. We are at the memorial to the women of World War II. My foster father points out the wreaths, blown about by the wind. The body of the wreath is plastic. Even in our remembrance, we have become consumers of plastic. To find meaning in a post-work world, we have to reclaim that first avenue of logotherapy, doing a deed. But we must switch the motivation from survival to care. Instead of a job you must do to eat, you find a task you choose to do to be useful, like walking around picking up litter. My foster father has arrived at Westminster Station, only to remember that the trains don't run on Christmas Day.
Oh, I forgot. There's no trains today. I'm walking back.
He isn't annoyed. He sees it as a gift, a chance to walk back, a chance to use his body, a chance to choose his attitude, to embrace a little struggle in his day. Here are 2 tiny actions that you can try to future-proof your sense of purpose. First, identify one thing you do that's unlikely to be automated or outsourced, something outside in the world, and do it regularly. Retain the human capability to find our own purpose. Second, engage in a micro-act of care for the places we share. Adjust a wreath that has blown over. Straighten a bin. Pick up 5 pieces of litter. Do it not because you are paid to, but because it proves you are an active participant in your world, not just a guest. My foster father stops to skip one last time in front of the Palace of Westminster. He looks ridiculous and he looks happy. He has found a way to strive, even on a day when most people rest. Choosing a freezing Christmas morning to pick up litter is one way to push back against toxic comfort. Across the Channel, in a sub-zero Paris, my foster father seeks safe adversity as a way of building antifragility. Today in freezing Paris, we're exploring seeking adversity that is safe. We'll pause for a memory about expensive water in Germany and finish with the science behind the concept of antifragility. It's before dawn in the City of Light. The blue pre-dawn lights the Eiffel Tower, and the temperature is below freezing. My foster father is pulling on his glove and getting his handy-dandy litter bag ready, preparing for a morning that most tourists are sleeping through. You might notice that he is underdressed. Just a light shirt, denim vest, and thin summer hiking pants. He isn't crazy. He's using a specific type of wellness tool and seeking safe adversity. The cold is uncomfortable, But unlike the heat waves hitting our home in Australia, this cold won't kill him. It has a hard floor of safety. It is just enough discomfort to wake up his body and mind without ending them. He spots a family near the Eiffel Tower and breaks his silence to ask in bad French if they speak English. They do. They've just arrived from England.
Parlez-vous English?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wander around the world picking up litter in famous places to encourage other people to do it.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, whereabouts are you guys from? England.
Yeah,
We've just
Cyprus.
come from England.
For a naturally shy and introverted man, initiating conversation like this is another form of cold water immersion. It's a small shock to the system to keep the social muscles from atrophying. He heads down to the Seine River at the Pont d'Iéna and heads towards the Louvre before the gates open, hoping to pick up litter before too many tourists obscure the filming. In front of the Obelisk de Luxor, he stops to skip. But the cold has turned his plastic rope into something brittle. Cheap skipping ropes can't develop resilience to adversity the way humans can. He laughs and keeps jumping anyway. That is the point of safe adversity. When the equipment fails or the weather bites, you don't retreat. You adapt.
Like wire. It's like skipping with fencing wire. Okay, give it a go. Warm it up. Make it a bit flexible. It's not flexible at all. Hands up. So 100, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That makes it easy.
At the Bassin Octagonal, he finds a professional city cleaner already working the far bank. He taps the ice on the water with a selfie stick. The sound sends the gulls flying. He doesn't need to clean this spot. The city has it covered. But he does it to prove to himself that he can be useful even when the conditions and the ice are hard. As usual, it's time for a short intermission and a personal story about my mother Liz and her travelling companion David. It's July 12th in 1993. They had arrived in Cochem, Germany, and it looked like an illustration from a storybook. Timbered houses, winding rivers, and a castle perched high on a hill. It felt like they had walked onto a movie set. Caught up in the romance of the setting, they decided to hike up to the castle and then continue even higher to a large cross overlooking the valley. It was a steep, exhausting climb in the summer heat. By the time they reached the summit, the fairy tale feeling had been replaced by sweat, exhaustion, and intense thirst. Then they spotted an oasis, a cafe at the very top. It looked perfect. They sat down, desperate for hydration, and ordered 2 tiny bottles of mineral water. They drank them in seconds, relieved, until the bill arrived. It was 15 Deutschmarks. For context, that was the price of a full meal elsewhere. David was furious. He did the mental currency conversion and realized they had just spent a day's budget on 2 mouthfuls of water. He felt scammed by the magic of the place. Even Liz couldn't flirt her way out of the bill, though she tried very hard. The fairy tale facade dropped, revealing the ruthless tourist trap underneath. They hiked back down, poorer, but wiser. The lesson wasn't just about money. It was about the tourist tax, the cost that comes from being part of the non-local crowd. The prettier the location, the more visitors, and the higher the cost of basic needs. They realized that in the tourism industry, your thirst is just a revenue stream, and sometimes the hardest climbs lead to the most expensive disappointments. Paris is waking up,
Bonjour.
and so are the tourists, opening opportunities for safe social adversity to get out of an introvert's comfort zone.
Bonjour. Parlez-vous English? Yeah. Me too. Well, I'm Australian, so we don't really speak anything properly.
So am I.
No way.
Yeah.
Way. Where are you from?
We're back now in a daytime Paris that has woken up to link these ideas to theory and research. You just watched my foster father speak to a stranger at the Grand Bassin Ronde. He's naturally shy, and walking up to a stranger is difficult, but he does it because he knows that avoiding things that scare us leads to atrophy. Just as muscles waste away without resistance, our resilience withers without friction. This aligns with Nassim Taleb's concept of antifragility. A glass vase is fragile. If you drop it, it breaks. A hammer is robust. If you drop a hammer, it bounces. One even comes back no matter how hard Thor throws it. But human systems are meant to be anti-fragile. They are designed to get better when exposed to stress, provided that stress doesn't destroy them. A human can become a vase or choose to train to become a hammer. I like to think of myself as a beautiful vase. My foster father is definitely a hammer. This brings us to the danger of toxic comfort or modern safetyism. If we remove all struggle, if the temperature is always comfortable, if we never try to talk to strangers or never wake up before the sun, we deny our bodies and minds the inputs they need to be robust. We become fragile. My foster father applies two main tools of antifragility: cold adversity and social friction. He looks for opportunities to be uncomfortable and asks a simple question: how likely is this to harm me? If the answer is unlikely, then he does that thing. Will this sub-zero cold harm him? Probably not. Will interacting with people he doesn't know in public damage him? That's also unlikely. I have to admit, I'm not there yet. I enjoy comfort so much that I have accepted being fragile. I stay warm, stay hidden, and disguise my real voice. But I wonder, are you like me? Are you okay with being fragile? Or are you ready to test the ice? Okay, let's talk about that fake voice I use, the AI voice, the one I'm using now, and let's address what's real and not real on Plog Vlog. The video is always real, that's obvious. You can see it's amateur, and sometimes the blur and wobble of the 360 camera. The stories about David are always real, but sometimes I change things Liz does to hide stuff I'm not willing to share, or to protect the identity of other people who are part of the original story. I can ask David's permission, but not theirs or my mother's. So the stories are real, but my voice isn't. I hope you're okay with that. If safe adversity makes us robust, what recharges us when the world feels chaotic? Battling snow and sleet in Amsterdam, we look at how reclaiming our agency often comes down to the psychological power of simply trying. This is where we first started noticing that robust people seem to have a strong internal locus of control.
Turn left on Defiance Pad, South Batterstrad, then make a U-turn at Huddestrand.
Today in freezing Amsterdam, we're exploring finding meaning by simply trying. We'll pause for a memory about eating dirty ice in Switzerland and finish with the science of agency. It is winter in the Netherlands. The smaller canals are starting to freeze. The trains will be halted by snow and the planes grounded. My foster father has come here to learn how to define a path to meaning from three people who have forged their own. Clara, the host of the Travel Devil podcast, Daniel, an endurance plogger, and Paul, the plogging banana.
What I was expecting was that Clara would turn up with a whole heap of questions and I wouldn't have to do anything.
Oh,
I could
We've
just
already done a
sit.
podcast.
I've come across the world, Uganda, UK, France, and here, to ask you one question. So what is it about you?
The reason why I can do it, or I've done it, is because of my mother. I'd have to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go with her into the paper shop, and I'd have to, and then she'd say, right, we've got 5 paper boys or paper girls that weren't here today because it was the weekend I did. So you've got to do 5 paper rounds.
Sorry, Paul, I don't think I'm going to make it by dawn. Look, I got like a stalagmite. I don't know what it's called. It's to wipe my eyes. This is so cool. But I don't think I'm going to make it in time for the morning run. Oh, I guess nobody knows.
After 20 kilometres cycling through rain, sleet and snow to Harlem, my foster father is watching Paul get into his banana suit.
See, I have this thing about filming men dressing. Everyone has their thing, that's my thing.
Seeing a grown man dress as a fruit to pick up litter might look absurd to some, but this is what defining your own path looks like.
I think the biggest thing is I didn't know I could do it, and I think that stops a lot of people, is the fact that they don't even try, they don't believe in themselves, they limit themselves. Daniel, I think maybe you could, I got this completely wrong, you kind of go in it with this innocence of, well, if he can do it, I can do it, or if they can do it, or like I've run a bit, so why can't I run a marathon?
He runs in flip-flops, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he runs
what
in
in Australia they
flip-flops.
call thongs.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably got a thong on, which is a different word over here. But the fact that you did it, you just tried. And it's a lot of it has come down to people which are putting so much of a limiter on themselves that they don't give themselves a chance to try.
Meaning doesn't usually fall into our lap while we wait. It is more often found on the road you choose to walk, ride, or run, even when it is slippery and cold. Maybe especially when it's slippery and cold. The main insight from this meeting was simple. These are 4 people who are not afraid to look foolish. They aren't afraid to fail. They are not afraid to try. Well, except for one thing. Paul was willing to wear a banana suit in public, but he refused to try skipping.
I thought it was nice and solid. Oh my God!
I do have some skills.
Jesus! That was amazing! It's got to be done. What? This is the spot. What spot? This is the spot. What spot? Skipping. Oh, f***. I haven't done it on a license before.
Time for a short intermission. A mountainous personal story from 1993. My mother, Liz, and her travelling companion David were in Lauterbrunnen, Switzerland, looking up at the icy Eiger Glacier. They were Australian, young, and inexperienced in alpine environments, so they treated the Alps like a bushwalk, setting off for a high-altitude trek wearing t-shirts and shorts. The climb was a relentless punishment. They hiked from the valley floor up to over 2,000 metres. As they climbed, the Green Valley, with its constant ring of cowbells, disappeared, replaced by grey rock, snow, and the terrifying sound of small avalanches tumbling down the mountains around them.
Look what you missed.
By the time they reached the glacier, the sweat threatened to freeze on their skin.
Paul, you're getting slack.
Oh, Jesus.
You're plugging eyes. Your plugging eyes are getting...
My hands are cold.
The wind was biting. Their summer clothes offered zero protection against the chill. They felt microscopic against the sheer scale of the landscape, putting the tininess of their lives into the giant perspective of geological time and space. Despite the cold, David climbed down to the glacier itself and broke off a chunk of the ancient ice. They both ate it. It didn't taste like fresh snow. It tasted old and rough, like time itself.
Paul?
Oh!
I don't even think it's open.
I don't even think I can call myself a professional anymore.
The cold is freezing your brain. Is it full?
It's full. And it's the second full one I've got. So I've got another one in here that's full as well.
An older version of David is looking at me writing this now and jokes that he's now old and rough, shaped by the years like that mountain. All those years ago, standing in shorts on a freezing mountain, eating dirty ice, he felt a profound sense of awe. The physical punishment of the 34-kilometre hike wiped away all the petty travel annoyances, laying them like dust beneath eons of subduction and collision. It was a lesson in the sublime, how nature's terrifying scale can reset our internal perspective, provided you are willing to try the climb.
I can't tell you how
If you
happy
say you're
it makes
happy,
me.
If you say you're happy, I'm going to be grumpy.
I'm happy.
Let's examine the idea of just trying. We're going to examine some theory and research behind trying rather than resting. My foster father is asking his guests about resilience because all three of them have faced the hard parts of being eco-creators and haven't quit.
Where you've just reached that point of just like, it's hard, it's really, really hard. But you've kept going. There's something about you that keeps you going. Same with you. You've been through times with the podcast that you do and all the social media stuff where you've just gone, oh, this is just so hard. Yeah. But you keep going.
This bench is actually made from recycled plastic that was taken out of the water here.
Oh, nice.
So the whole story is there.
Yeah.
So the people that did the paddle boarding cleanups, and there's another guy who's got a boat that goes around picking up trash. They collected it all, gave it to a company that melts down the plastic, and they turned it into a bench.
Paul shows my foster father a bench made entirely from plastic fished out of these canals, proof that small efforts accumulate into solid results. There is a psychological concept at play here called agency. When we feel the world is chaotic, like when trains stop and planes are grounded, we can feel helpless. By just trying, by doing a small, autonomous action like picking up litter or starting a project, we reclaim a sense of control. It aligns with self-determination theory, which states that we need autonomy, competence, and relatedness to feel well.
Doing something, starting something for me is the problem. Continuing it is just pig-headedness.
For me, it's more difficult to continue than to start. Because I'm not scared of starting something new or something. I think it's pretty cool. I'm like, oh yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Let's give it a go.
My foster father believes that treating his mission as a hobby rather than a job protects that autonomy. It keeps the fun alive, even when the litter comes back and frustration creeps in.
What I find is that I need to make sure that the plogging stays fun, that it doesn't be, like for you it's a job.
Yeah.
For me it's really important that it's not a job. This has got to be a hobby. It's got to stay a hobby. It's got to be a mission. And that helps me get through my real job as a teacher. I got a picture in my head. Speaking of pictures, I got a picture in my head of you holding, and I can't remember what it was, something in your teeth, dragging a whole heap of tires and stuff.
I have the same picture in my head.
Yeah. It's kind of like the epitome of a picture of determination.
Finally, look at this image of Daniel. He's finishing a world plogging competition. He looks fierce. Determination like this doesn't just happen. You don't wake up with that look in your eyes. Determination is the end product of just trying, over and over again. Here are 2 tiny actions that you can also try. First, lower the bar. Don't try to be perfect. Just try to be active. Second, pick a task that has a visible result, like picking up 5 pieces of litter. It proves to your brain that you can change your environment. The grit to just keep trying is powerful, but it relies on where you believe control sits. Leaving the ice for the tall minarets of Istanbul, we continue to examine how an internal locus of control shapes our growth after hard times.
Before we start looking at the videos of picking up litter in Istanbul and examining the impact of locus of control upon post-traumatic growth, I need to let you know there's some changes that are happening with Plog Vlog. Trinity's stepping back a bit. She's moved out of home, which is kind of expected. So I'm going to have to step in and fill the gap. Unfortunately, that means you're going to have to hear my voice and see my face a bit more than usual. Previously, I was just mainly filming. Then
Now that my foster father has told you about the changes to Plog Vlog, we've gone back in time a few weeks to Istanbul, where we'll explore some of the influences of locus of control. We'll pause for a memory about a silent date in Austria, and finish with research and theory about today's psychological construct. We are in Istanbul, picking up tourist litter beneath tall minarets in a city that already has many bins and professional cleaners. As my foster father mentioned, I've moved out of home, so I'm stitching this together from my new desk after he delivered the footage. That's how we work. He films in bulk during the school holidays and returns with up to 10 episodes worth of footage for editing over the school term. Because there's not a lot of time for filming during teaching weeks. This episode is titled Locus to Resilience and focuses on how our internal beliefs shape our growth after life's hard times. All the people featured in this chapter so far, the tree planters, the endurance bloggers, the environmental podcasters, speak in ways that indicate they have a strong internal locus of control. This construct is a simple but powerful idea that asks whether you believe that your life is shaped by your own actions or by outside forces. Those with an internal locus believe they hold the wheel. Those with an external locus feel like passengers in a world of luck or fate. In Australia, research suggests that about 80% of adults lean toward an internal locus of control, though this can fluctuate. While often considered a stable personality trait, your locus of control isn't fixed for life. It can shift following significant life events, but importantly, it can also be nudged through intentional choices and interventions. By choosing to pick up litter in a city as vast as Istanbul, my foster father is practicing that internal belief, proving to himself that his individual actions still register against the noise. Let's see how that belief holds up when the scenery changes. Time for a short intermission, a personal story from July 1993. After my mother Liz and her friend David had left Switzerland's mountains, they were in Salzburg, in Austria, where the sound of music charm was wearing thin under constant rain and the stink of a mildewed tent. To escape their rusting poles and damp clothes, they headed into the city to explore ancient catacombs cut into the cliffs near St. Peter's Church. It was a place of silence and bones, a stark contrast to the lively streets they walked through afterward. Walking past a cafe, David spotted what looked like a classic European romance happening, a man sharing coffee with a well-dressed woman. But as they drew closer, the image morphed into something completely different. The woman didn't move or blink. Surprised, David realized the woman was actually a plastic store mannequin. The man was sitting there, perfectly content, having a date with a doll. It was a jarring moment of perception that stripped away the glamour to reveal the strange, solitary reality underneath. David wrote in his journal that night, in the mildewed tent, that he bet she wasn't very good conversation. A much older David sent me a YouTube video of a guy talking with his AI girlfriend. Mannequins are better conversationalists nowadays. Perhaps they won't be mannequins for much longer. A bit like Pinocchio, just becoming a real woman rather than a real boy.
Excuse me, how do you think about the litter situation? It's pretty good, hey? There's almost no litter here. Almost none at all. Have you been helping out? Can you be an advocate for making a litter-free environment? At least you don't need cat poo bags like you need dog poo bags. Anyhow, I'm going to go head up here. It's nice talking.
While my foster father talks to cats in Istanbul, let's examine the theory and research linking locus of control and resilience. Understanding where you sit on the continuum between external and internal locus of control offers several benefits. An internal locus is consistently associated with better psychological outcomes after trauma, often called post-traumatic growth. It can also lead to more proactive health behaviours and lower levels of learned helplessness.
You're going to help me pick up litter? I travel around the world picking up litter and filming myself to encourage other people to do it. There's another little bit over here, sorry. So interactions with cats probably will work well. I got to get them on board.
People who perceive that trying will work are probably more likely to try. And trying often results in better outcomes than not trying. However, there are risks at both extremes. People too high in internal locus of control may face excessive guilt when things go wrong, believing they are responsible for things they cannot influence. For example, my foster father recently walked into a police station in Amsterdam to report having his cameras and phone stolen, and immediately told the police all the reasons why it was his fault that they were taken. On the other extreme, a purely external locus can lead to apathy and a sense of being a victim of circumstance. Research suggests a sweet spot exists, a balanced perspective where you take full responsibility for your actions while acknowledging the reality of external constraints. To nudge yourself toward this resilient middle ground, you can practice 2 tiny actions. First, perform a control audit during a difficult time. Identify one thing you can change and one thing you must accept. Second, engage in a small, autonomous act like picking up 5 pieces of litter. It provides a physical signal to your brain that you can affect your environment, consistent with a steadier sense of agency. As you watch these minarets, remember that meaning is often built from what we choose to do with the things we cannot change. Internal locus of control keeps some people moving when others retire to the couch. But even the strong can't make positive choices on a flat battery. Off Istanbul on the Prince's Islands, we explore Salutogenesis, the science behind what makes us well, starting with the power of the morning sky gaze.
I started thinking about my new job as a HPE teacher and how that could be integrated into Plog Vlog, how I could promote wellness to adults through this medium and wellness to children through my schoolwork. This week's Plog Vlog episode is about that and about the concept of salutogenesis, which is the science of what makes us well instead of the science of solving being unhealthy. That sun coming up over there, morning light projects blue light waves into your eyes. The blue light waves reset your circadian rhythm.
Now that my foster father has explained the shift in our approach, let's go to the Prince's Islands near Istanbul in Turkey. Today, we're exploring restorative sleep. We'll pause for a memory about a chaotic bus ride in Rome, involving a pickpocket trap, and finish with the morning sky gaze, a tiny action you can try tomorrow.
Are you following me? What? What? Really?
We are on the Prince's Islands archipelago. This first island is a place where cars are banned, the pace is slow, and cats are everywhere. Friends and companions to everyone they meet.
I travel around the world and pick up litter after tourists.
While my foster father tries to pick up litter while cats battle for his attention, I'll discuss a concept called salutogenesis. While modern medicine often focuses on pathogenesis, what makes us sick and how to treat it, salutogenesis asks the opposite question: what makes us well? It focuses on the factors that create health rather than just those that fix disease. Let's define some related terms and the way we use them at Plog Vlog. We view health, fitness, and wellness as 3 separate approaches to living.
You're a pain in the ass.
Health is simply the absence of illness. You can be healthy according to a doctor, having no diagnosable disease, but still lack the capacity to live the life you actually want to live. You might have no diagnosable disease but still not be able to keep up with your friends on a morning walk. Fitness is different again. We use it to describe a physical state compared to a benchmark or to other people. When someone says she's fit, they usually mean she has high physical capability or a specific aesthetic. Fitness often requires high effort, sometimes so much that it becomes unsustainable or leads to injury. It often relies on artificial exercise done solely for the purpose of becoming fit. Wellness is the goal we focus on at Plog Vlog. We use the term to describe a physical and mental state that allows you to live the life you choose. For some, wellness might mean having the mobility to garden. For my foster father, it means having the capacity to hike, ride, and think clearly. Importantly, wellness is sustainable. It is built through the very activities you want to keep doing. If you want to garden, garden regularly. If you want to hike, then hike most weekends. If you want to understand, set aside regular times to think deeply. However, you cannot choose wellness if your battery is flat. My foster father believes that restorative sleep underpins all of these states. Without it, we lack the biological currency, the agency, to make positive choices. It is at the top of his Riddle of Steel list, the thing that supports every other choice that makes us strong.
Ha! Styrofoam, our arch enemy.
He is explaining to a cat that styrofoam is his arch enemy. But the real enemy of wellness is a disrupted circadian rhythm. Seeing the morning sun is the primary signal that resets that rhythm. We'll explain the science of that shortly, but first let's see what happens when you try to control a chaotic environment while perhaps not being fully alert. Time for a short intermission. A personal story from July in 1993. My mother Liz and her travelling companion David were in Rome, preparing to board the infamous Route 64 bus to the Vatican. This route was so notorious for thieves that locals called it the wallet eater. David was hyper-aware of the threat. He'd grown eyes in the back of his head while working as a bouncer in a rodeo town and had prepared a dummy wallet stuffed with paper. That was placed in his back pocket as a trap. As he stepped onto the crowded bus, he felt a hand slide into that pocket. He spun around instantly, grabbing the thief by the back of the neck and tilting the man's head back so they were locked eye to eye. The thief immediately dropped the dummy wallet, threw his hands up in feigned innocence, shouted, "What wallet?" and jumped off the bus before the doors closed. David felt a surge of victory. His trap had worked. He had outsmarted the environment. He picked up the dummy wallet, feeling smug, and turned to look at Liz. She was pale. Her bag was unzipped, and her purse was gone. In the chaos, a second thief had targeted Liz. Adrenaline spiking, David spotted another man nearby who looked suspicious. He lunged, grabbing this second man by the throat. But the man didn't fight back, he just stared. Doubt crept in. David realised he couldn't just choke a potentially innocent man on a hunch, so he let him go. The man slipped away. The purse was lost. The lesson wasn't just about theft. It was about the limits of vigilance. You can win the battle you prepared for and still lose the war because the environment is more chaotic than your attention can span. David wrote in his journal that night that sometimes you are so busy feeling smart that you fail to be safe.
Look at this. No rubbish, not a skerrick of rubbish around the bins. I reckon we need to make a measure of the quality of the country based on it wasn't for you. It wasn't for you. No. Yeah, we need to make a measure of the quality of the country's litter based on how much of it is around bins.
We're back now on the Prince's Islands to put this into practice, as my foster father expresses praise at how well the locals, and perhaps the tourists, have kept the place litter-free. Let's look at the mechanism behind why the morning sky gaze helps us be well. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control and decision-making, needs deep sleep to clear out metabolic waste. Without this clearance, executive function dips, making the hard wellness choices, like choosing to go for a walk or eating well, feel impossible. To ensure you get that sleep, you need to set a timer. Research indicates that the blue light spectrum found in morning sunlight hits specific sensors in your eyes called melanopsin receptors. These receptors signal your body to stop producing melatonin, the sleep hormone, and effectively start a countdown timer for sleep that night. This is the practical tool. Seek out the morning sky gaze. It resets the circadian rhythm to ensure your agency battery recharges the next night. Here is the tiny action you can try. Step outside within 20 minutes of waking up. Look at the sky, not directly at the sun, just at the bright sky for 2 to 5 minutes. You don't need to exercise. You don't need to meditate. You just need to let the light enter your eyes to tell your biological clock that the day has begun. If you want to build wellness, start by protecting your sleep.
Hello, sir. I go around the world.
Yes.
Going to different places, picking up litter.
Yeah.
And just to encourage other people, put it up on social media to encourage other people to pick up litter. But there's not much around here.
And the best way to protect tonight's sleep is to see this morning's sun. Recharging the biological battery through good sleep is the foundation of wellness. But how do we stop frustration from draining it away? Returning home to Brisbane, we finish the chapter by learning to manage chronic frustration, choosing our battles, and protecting our own chosen oases.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. I often come to this park to do a bit of physical activity, but I don't pick up litter here because I can spend hours doing it, and by the end of the day, it'd be just the same shithole that it is at the moment. I mean, look at this. Look at all this. All over here. I've spent years talking to community members, church leaders, mosque leaders about helping out, and it's made no difference at all. So this place I consider a lost cause. 2 days ago, I was interviewed for a documentary up in the bush up here, Karawatha Forest, and in the hours that we spent filming that documentary, we picked up literally a handful of litter. That place is what I call an oasis. It can be saved. This place, at this point in time, with the current mentality in this country, this can't be saved. Look at this litter. I know that the council people were here yesterday. I saw them, and they cleaned all this up yesterday. And all of this trash is just for the ibises. That's why there's ibises here, because they're going through the shit. I can get angry, but I'm not going to, because frustration is a negative emotion. I'm going to focus on the fact that Karawatha Forest over there is an oasis. That's something that gives me hope.
Today in Brisbane, Australia, we're exploring the wellness construct of choosing your battles to avoid the corrosive effects of chronic frustration. We'll pause for a memory about a romance with a boxer in Rome and finish with a tiny action to help you find your own oasis. You are watching my foster father skipping in a park painted in litter. He started learning to skip back in episode 1 of this chapter when he was in Uganda, and he is doing it now to maintain his own wellness in a place that tests it.
We've just come back from yet another trip traveling around picking up litter. And coming back to Brisbane is so frustrating. It's sad. It really saddens me coming back to this city because it's one of the most littered places I've ever found in Australia. And it's worse than most of the places in the rest of the world. Look at this sign here. This is not 200 meters from where I live. And look at this. Now, if we come down here, all the way along here, we've got vapes, we've got bottles, we did have mattresses down here, but we've got other stuff in here. Come with me. I'll show you this down here.
While he rides this new folding bike, bought after he rediscovered the joy of simple cycling in the Netherlands, let's discuss frustration. For my foster father, frustration has always been his primary negative emotion. Back in the 90s, as a personal trainer, he was frustrated that people valued body image over wellness. Now, he is realising that for every 5 people in that park, statistics suggest only 1 is moving enough to maintain basic biological competence.
I mean, seriously, look at this. Tires, plastic, styrofoam, Hungry Jacks, all of this right next to the sign. And what frustrates me even more is that I've talked to churches and mosques. There's a church down here, there's two. There's a mosque up there. And I talk to the people there and they say to me, oh, wow, what a wonderful thing you're doing. I don't want compliments. I want help. And this just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. This is my home. And all I want is to go to other places where I can actually make a difference. This here, I could clean this up and this would be worse tomorrow probably. Now you can hear the frustration in my voice, and this whole episode is going to be about frustration and avoiding frustration. I'm not going to come down and clean this up because it's a waste of time. It's a lost cause. I'd rather go to places like Istanbul, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Harlem, and actually feel that I'm making a difference. Adelaide was beautiful. This is Brisbane, my home.
He calls this place a lost cause, not to be cynical, but to protect himself. Psychological research suggests that unresolved frustration triggers the body's stress response, raising cortisol and keeping us in a state of fight or flight, even when there is no enemy to fight. If you cannot change the outcome, like the litter here, continuing to push against it doesn't fix the world. It just breaks you. The salutogenic approach is to distinguish between the battles you can win and the ones that will only drain your battery. Time for a short intermission. A story of my mother's romance in Rome. A short fling in July 1993. Recovering from the bus robbery we mentioned in the last episode, my mother Liz and her travelling companion David were staying at the Flaminio campsite. At the pool, David met a massive man from the Bronx named Marco, a boxer of Portuguese descent who looked like he could walk through a brick wall without dusting off his shoulders. Marco confessed that he too had been robbed that very day. A woman had distracted him while another dropped a sheet of cardboard over his head, cut with a hole in the middle so it rested on his shoulders, blocking his view while they emptied his pockets. Hearing this giant of a man admit defeat made David feel significantly better. If this powerful boxer couldn't stop the thieves of Rome, David's failure to protect Liz on the bus was just bad luck, not weakness. But for Liz, Marco was more than a cautionary tale. She was drawn to him instantly. They started spending every waking moment together. And some of the other moments too. Marco, assuming David and Liz were a couple, eventually pulled David aside to ask if he was stepping on toes. David laughed and gave him the all clear. He wasn't jealous. He was relieved. He used the free time to swim laps alone, enjoying the solitude he'd been craving for months.
Caribou Christian Church. And in front of this, it's not too bad. There's a bit of litter here, Red Bull, but not too bad. So I'd say people clean up in front of their church. Wouldn't it be good if they could just expand out every Sunday? Come here, praise your God, but then do good works by cleaning up this way, up the road I just came. It's not that hard. Good morning, how are you? Yeah, no, I'm just filming. Yeah, I travel around the world picking up litter and filming myself to encourage others to do it. No worries, have a good one. Oh, good on you. What a nice guy. See, there are good people.
The climax of this Roman holiday happened in the Senate building at the Roman Forum. Liz, David and Marco were exploring with an Australian family they'd met. It was the place where an ancient empire was ruled. The walls were heavy with history. Suddenly, the family's 5-year-old daughter, Jacinta, began to hum. It wasn't a nursery rhyme. It was a complex, classical-sounding piece of music that seemed to vibrate off the ancient stones. When they asked her what she was doing, she simply said, "It's not me." She pointed behind a headless statue and said the music was coming from a place she could not see. The group stood in stunned silence. Even Marco, the tough boxer who fought for a living, was spooked. It was a moment of shared, inexplicable wonder, a stark contrast to the physical, gritty battles of pickpockets and cardboard traps. But travel romances are often short. The bubble burst. Liz said a difficult goodbye to Marco, and she and David packed up their mildewed tent to board a train for Brindisi. They had to keep moving, carrying the memory of a boxer who'd lost a battle to cardboard and a child who could hear the ghosts of the Senate.
This is my default oasis. It's the place I come when the trashification of Brisbane gets too much for me. Let's have a look around here and let's see what we get. I'm gonna look for litter here because this is where I can actually make a difference. Back there, no, lost cause. Keep using that term lost cause, but I actually think that's psychological protection. Sometimes you just have to say, no, I'm not giving up. I'm just accepting that something is a lost cause, just for your own management of frustration.
We're back now to explore the science in my foster father's default oasis, Karawatha Forest. He labelled the littered streets he'd left behind a lost cause, so he could manage his frustration. Research in psychology supports this as a form of cognitive reappraisal. By consciously deciding that a situation is outside your locus of control, you reduce the gap between your expectation and reality. It isn't giving up. Rather, it is resource allocation. He's saving his energy for the place where he can make a difference.
A little bit down there. It's beer, of course. So let's just... someone drank the right amount of beer. Almost none. There we go. I'll get 10 cents for that and use that to help promote plogging.
In an hour of filming, that single beer bottle was the only litter he found. This validates the strategy. By shifting his effort to an oasis, a place that is still savable, he moves from frustration to efficacy. He feels useful again. Here is the tiny action we offer that you can try. It has 2 parts. First, identify your own oasis. Find one small place, a patch of grass, a single street corner, or even just your own bookshelf that you can successfully keep in order. Control what is controllable to reset your sense of agency. Second, practice physical balance. As my foster father demonstrates on this rock, maintaining the ability to stand on one leg or squat effectively is use it or lose it. Once it's lost, it's hard to get back. Balance and strength protect you from the falls that often signal the end of independence in later life. Don't battle the whole world, just battle the gravity that you can handle. On screen now, you'll see the next episode shining on the left and compilations waiting on the right. And please, in your own oasis, pick up 5.